You got to get the Willie Soap for the dicky dirt. Today is losing it.
Willie Soap. It just made me snort.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Danae Hughes.
Meow.
We write for CinemaSins, TV Sins, and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. Howdy, guys.
Howdy.
We're back in separate areas.
What was that from, though? What were you doing an impression of? That sounded really familiar.
Well, it's like a James Cagney thing, right? Like it's like the old gangster movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's just in my brain. I don't know that it's. I don't know that I know where I'm pulling that from.
He's a rat.
Top of the world. Top of the world, Ma.
How?
Oh,
Wait,
what a wonderful
That's like W.C. Fields, right?
Yeah, it could be W.C. Fields.
Yeah, Fields.
That's what Danae was doing.
The whole time.
How is everybody?
Sorry.
Everybody okay?
I'm great.
Man, I came off of a nut weekend where my kid got sick. I was supposed to go on a date
Well,
night.
that's what I was wondering.
So we're all good, but it's like I'm so tired.
Yeah, it's that time of year.
Yeah.
the flu is hitting everybody.
Yeah.
My
I
house
was-
has a couple people down.
Oh, really?
I was really
Yeah.
sick last week. I didn't have the flu, but I might as well have. So
I do feel like I'm finally coming out of my 2-month sickness that I've been dealing with. So that's nice.
How do you feel your voice? You think you still got that low register going?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
good.
I pulled out my guitar to play with my daughter because she was
nice.
singing, and I was like, "Do you want me to get my guitar?" And so pulled the guitar out, and we were singing together. And I had like my voice is it's either damaged forever, or it's so different to try to sing something. I mean, also I had a toddler that was attacking the guitar,
Right.
/ playing the guitar.
Right.
you've got like 5 weeks to get it ready for Sin Week. So
Are we
let's do
really
this.
doing a talent show?
We really are. I think.
Oh,
I think.
no.
I
Wait,
think
what?
That's how
I was
we'll.
kidding.
I think that's how we'll end up. I know there's some big push from above us for that to happen. So
Jesus?
Yeah, I think Jesus really wants it to happen at Sin
Dude,
Week.
if
Listen,
I
if there's
have
one
no
thing Jesus is
talents.
involved in, it's Sin Week. Like
I have
he
no
is.
talents. I can't even write. I don't even know why I'm working here. So
well, we'll find
just kidding.
something for you. Maybe you're like really good at high fives.
The way it's been.
I'm not good at high fives. That is a legit thing I'm not good at.
Okay.
Way to go, Danae.
Oh.
Way to just emphasize
Whoops.
his very point.
Maybe.
And I can't play the triangle.
Oh no. Okay, we have a little work to do.
Whistling?
I can play a third of Lean on Me.
That's
There you go.
all you need.
Well, that's
all you need.
That'll be great. How it's been explained to me is that it will be a karaoke kind of night.
Okay.
With other talents if you don't want to sing. Like the
Okay.
idea is we're going to have karaoke, but if you can't do karaoke, we still want you to be able to get up in front and do something. So
I can rap, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Why are you looking like that, Danae?
I'm just concerned. I'm concerned
It's
about
going to
the
be so
talent
fun.
show.
Oh, it's
You're
gonna be
concerned about
so
me
fun.
rapping? Thank you.
Yeah. I think what I'll do is I'll politely excuse myself with Jonathan takes the stage.
Why?
Just kind of
Why?
when he takes the stage, because obviously, no. I'll grab the camera and record
there you
when
go.
Jonathan takes the stage.
Now you're thinking.
I'm okay with doing BTS live. That sounds like a lot of fun. I have sang one time in karaoke, but it was a long time ago, and I have sang in public since then, but I have not done karaoke since I became more comfortable singing in front of people.
We can do a duet.
Which song?
Up Where We Belong. I have no idea. Something that's not.
Wait, is that the one from Little Mermaid?
Can you two?
No, it's from Officer and a Gentleman, I think, but it's the Love Lift Us Up Where We Belong.
Oh, God.
I was kidding. I was totally kidding. I don't even know who sang that. Like Kenny Rogers. I don't know who sang that. Oh no, Kenny Rogers is like. Well, we could do Islands in the Stream.
Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Why don't you two just take the time to learn Shakira and J-Lo's routine from the halftime show?
Hell yes.
And you and Jonathan just perform that.
That's right.
I think that'll work great.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking maybe my wife and I will do A Whole New World from Aladdin.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do my different lyrics instead of.
Oh, that'll be better.
Yeah.
No, that's a good call.
I think A Whole New World. I think I've said this before. A Whole New World, I think, is about sex. Right? This is a song about like.
I think everything's about sex.
Right? A Whole New World. Don't you dare close your thighs. Like that's
Yeah, you should definitely do
they
those
say.
lyrics. That will go over so well with the audience. I'm not even kidding. That's definitely.
Hold my breast, it gets better.
Yes. This is what we're all paying to go see. But you know what? We could do like a talent version of like assembling sock puppets.
Okay.
That could be a talent.
Fair enough.
You know?
Fair enough.
Oh, I've never done this in my life, and I probably don't have time to practice, but like fire hooping. That would be kind of cool.
I'm just gonna sing.
You're gonna sing?
Over fire hooping. Yeah.
Okay, I see your point.
Fair point.
I see your point.
You guys ready to get into it?
Yep.
Let's do the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sinning them, how we felt about the stuff we're sinning in general, TV sins, Big Bang Theory, another episode. These videos seem to be doing really well. People like it when we sin the Big Bang Theory.
People like Big Bang Theory, and there's like 800 episodes to do. So.
This is the staircase implementation, and this is the flashback episode, one of the flashback episodes of the Big Bang Theory. This was a Dicer Hughes script. Danae and I wrote on this. We've talked a little bit about our feeling on the show. Does anybody have any feelings on this specific episode? Was it funnier than you expected? Was it better in some ways, worse in some ways?
I mean, I've seen this episode a few times. I definitely saw it when it was aired initially, and I think I've seen it like in reruns, just had it on the background. I typically don't care for flashback episodes, especially in sitcoms.
Yeah.
And you guys even point this out. One of my favorite bits is where you talk about it's funny because you have long curly hair.
Yeah.
That
right.
seems to be like the flashback thing is everybody has different hair. Like on Friends, Ross has an afro.
Yeah, you look different. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
I think it's funnier if the clothing changes significantly, but like 8 years previous, it's not that big of a change.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah.
like, well, I will say, like, Howard, I really thought, like he actually was kind of funny, his visual representation, because that actually looked like what I would envision he looked like a few years prior.
Yeah.
And Sheldon just looked the exact same, which was kind of funny.
I can see why this one would be popular because, there's questions that are being answered about their past. Why is the elevator closed?
But I don't want to know that. I mean, this show actually doesn't do a really good job with running gags. That's actually a pretty good one.
Oh, the elevator just being...
Yeah, but explaining it kind of ruins it.
That's interesting, yeah.
It also
in my opinion,
quote unquote, explained why the seat is the preferred seat. And then, of course, some of the origin story of the Friends group. And I definitely can understand why flashbacks can be exciting to see in shows because it sort of maybe solves some questions and stuff. But I had never seen this episode before. Had you seen this episode, Aaron?
Oh, no, I don't watch the show at all. So,
right. That's right.
If I've seen the Big Bang Theory, it's completely accidental.
It's for this job only.
It is, yeah, pretty much.
Which is kind of hard to do because as of now, it hasn't streamed. I think that Warner, the HBO Max, I think is or somebody's streaming it like this year. But
yeah,
that was a big deal recently because I think they sold it for like $500 million or something.
Yeah,
I didn't mind watching the episode. I definitely thought that the highlight of the episode was the signing of the agreement. Just
the contract.
Yeah, the contract, and specifically that time travel bit was.
Really funny.
That was genuinely funny.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, it was perfectly timed. I think that if the audience were live, they would have been genuinely humored, just like we heard on the laugh track.
No, I think there is I think they do shoot in front of a live audience.
Oh, they just amplify it?
They amplify it with the laugh track.
Okay.
They definitely shoot in front of a live audience.
Oh, that makes sense.
There's actually a really funny, you could look it up on YouTube. They do a version of Call Me Maybe for the live audience during a recording.
I legitimately have been thinking this whole time that it's just nobody there.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. It's shot in front of a live audience. Then they just...
I mean, they do I don't know if they do some exterior shots and stuff sometimes. I don't know where those are, but yeah,
right.
but most of it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to one of those tapings, not a Big Bang Theory, but to a live audience taping before. And the reason I always say laugh track, even when there's a live audience, is because even the live audience is manufactured. They are incentivizing them to pump them up to laugh harder.
Up.
And I think there's a great example in this episode of the audience guffawing at a Latin phrase that they haven't even heard the explanation of yet. That was annoying. Whenever there's a space, the audience knows they're supposed to guffaw and laugh, right?
Oh, burn in Latin.
Yeah,
Latin burn.
So yeah, that's why when I say laugh track, that's what I mean. It's just how manufactured the whole thing is.
It was fun to sin, though. I will say that was fun.
Yeah, it's a fun show to sin. For
yeah,
sure.
I enjoyed it.
Jonathan, you didn't write on this, so what were some of your favorite parts of the video?
I hated it. No, I'm just kidding. It
was awful.
It was extremely funny. You guys had a lot of nitpicky stuff in there, which was really funny to me, like with contract and like the Rule 8.
Oh yeah, Section 8. There are two Section 8s. Yeah.
Which I
episode directed by Quentin Tarantino with the foot fetish thing.
Boy, is this! I mean, that is the longest pedicure of all time, or whatever it is.
I don't know who wrote this one, and I'm not saying it's not sinful, but Penny had that book, the Perfect Fit.
Yes.
But don't you think that? I mean, I've known a lot of women like Penny, and I would not be surprised if they had that book.
I just, that was a me sin. I hate that stuff. I hate the idea. And the whole book was about like how to make you look better in clothes that don't make you look bad because your shape is bad.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's just the vibe of, I don't mind, books about getting fit, but it seemed to me, I didn't read this book. Let's just be specific. It just seemed to me that this one was about how to make sure that the clothes that you wear are the best for your body to make it look the best.
Mm-hmm.
And to that I say,
Okay, so that's what you were sending, not that she would have the book. Because I was
I was sending the book.
Within her character.
The show for doing it. And actually in this script, Aaron really sprinkled his magic onto a lot of my sins. I think this is one that you amplified as well.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So was it just
that.
like you screaming and he took it back, or?
Yeah, how this is how I do my scripts. I write, I don't like this part. And then Aaron fixes it.
That's not true.
I know it's not true.
That is not true. We all help each other with tags and
This
fun
is
stuff,
poo-poo.
so.
Absolutely.
So I just get a script of 50 different timestamps.
Ew,
and it
gross.
just says, this is poo-poo.
No.
I hate this.
Yeah.
I don't like this. What's this about? That's the whole script.
And everyone who thinks that's real is like,
sorry.
wait a minute, I could work for CinemaSins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, all you have to do is write, I don't like this, and somebody else will fix it for you.
Yeah,
That's how
exactly.
we work.
Yeah.
What else?
Although Danae will leave things blank sometimes for me to fill in.
I will do that. Yeah. Although it's not it's a if there's something here moment.
Right.
More than it's a you
No,
gotta
I
do
think it's great.
Any other parts, Jonathan, you wanted to
Yeah,
mention?
well, I was going to say, the guy who plays Glenn, I can't think of his name right now, is in this episode. He was Sheldon's first roommate, and I love that you were able to get I assume this was Aaron, got a Bat reference in there from Walking Dead.
Yes.
And the Walking Dead handwriting thing was really funny, too. And then we got another Who's the Nerd Now nerd in, which is a great running gag with this series.
Stephen Yoon is...
Stephen Yoon, that's right, yes.
Yeah. Danae, what about you?
I really like that you got to continue your thermostat troll propaganda. This is a recurring thing from our radio days where we would do this on the show. So to see it pop up in a script,
Thermostat Wars.
I wasn't surprised.
I have it in my keeping tabs, but I have a couple things in there, so we can talk about it now. But
I'm a 70 degree guy.
yes,
I get it.
I don't understand. Look, there's
The highest I'll go is 72.
There's only so many clothes you can take off. So it's like you've got to keep it to the cooler person's temperature.
I have friends, man. Their house will be like 76. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Like,
that sounds
what
wonderful.
is wrong with that?
76 sounds wonderful.
I just can't
How do you
sleep.
survive?
I cannot. I can survive if it's 75 in the house, but I can't sleep.
Yeah.
I will be sweating through the sheets if it's 75 in the house.
And it's been proven. It's been proven that you sleep better if it's colder.
Yes. Yeah.
That is science.
So that was fun. That was just a fun thing to see. I also liked your half-assed for your near swear run. That was kind of a fun...
That was my other keeping tab, so let's not steal both of them.
Okay. I like that one in particular because I think in the combination, there was even did you mean to write half-assed here? So just that was really fun.
Look, if there's one thing I know about, it's near swears. That's one of my areas of expertise. Although I did get some pushback in the comments about that.
I saw that.
People apparently do say bat crap crazy. That is not one I've ever heard. But good for you. Say what you want.
I also really enjoyed the narrator making noises this time. And let me say, so when I write a script, a lot of times the way that it's written, I assume that whenever it kind of gets all assembled together, that it would be keyboard noises or it would be, wheeling out a whiteboard. But in this one, for whatever reason, Jeremy, his Google search was the sort of like mouth noises.
Yeah.
And I, during the editing process, I didn't really call it out because I kind of thought it was funny. And then I saw some comments that like Simile says, did he just make a bunch of weird noises to seem like the sound of a keyboard typing? And then people are commenting on it. And Saint goes, I'm high AF. And that shit confused the absolute shit out of me. It was just really, really funny.
I didn't realize I wrote a comment.
So I really enjoyed that. I liked writing the salad bowl down the pants joke a lot.
Yes.
And then the other one that I really liked were my runs about the eternal dibs.
Yep.
And the elevator. I really enjoyed writing those too. Like Sheldon would have let Leonard die.
Yeah.
He was clearly just waiting for comedic
Sheldon's
timing.
a jerk, man.
And then also just the whole reason for him sitting in that particular seat is contradicted within the episode.
Yeah.
So I was really, those things are hard to put together sometimes as you're writing because you want to write it in such a way where it like rolls well. Mm-hmm. And so specifically in the one where he's sitting down in the seat to do the callbacks to, but you just said, and then playing another kind of part, that can get a little bit overwhelming, I think sometimes. So, but it worked this time. So
speaking of Sheldon, I assume we're going to be doing more episodes at some point in the future since they do well. And, he eventually has a girlfriend. So that'll be interesting to see what we get out of that material.
Yeah. I was glad to finally get to talk about one of my biggest pet peeves in TV shows, which is TVs in the middle of the room, because that is something that every time takes me out of a show when I see the back of a TV.
Yeah.
And
I have never thought about that before until you
Not one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
No, but I love that. I love that. That is something I never thought about. I never think about the wall.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think these are fun. These are fun to go after.
All right, let's move on to Criminal Minds Masterpiece. This was a Hughes Watkins script. So I've never really watched Criminal Minds. Jonathan, I think you have. Danae, is this a show that you watched really much of?
I think I started to watch it when it first kind of came out because I was into crime shows at the time.
Now,
this one kind of just pushed it a little bit too much for me, so I stopped watching.
Yeah, I think actually I remember somebody recommended this show to me. It may have been one of my parents. Was just like, you have to watch Criminal Minds, and I was like, okay. I think I watched one episode and I was like, this is really dark, and
it's really dark.
I don't need another dark show in my life.
Yeah. That's why I stopped watching.
And crime procedurals, like there's so many of them.
I've seen every episode, I think, and this is what, the 15th season.
Yeah.
I've seen many of them more than once. I will say it's much better at the beginning. Mandy Patinkin was on there for the first two seasons.
He's great.
Yeah, and he left, basically. His comments on why he left was because it was too much for him, which is kind of interesting because he went and did Homeland after this, but whatever.
Right. I think if I remember correctly, it's like, so at the time, a lot of the, CSI and Law and Order, that type of show, was kind of more from the perspective of like, or at least the crimes themselves, it didn't really get into the psychology of it. It didn't really get into like the darkness of it. It just sort of kept it. I mean, I think Special Victims Unit for sure got more serious because obviously they branched off more into the sex crimes and they would sometimes touch a bit more and more on like how it affected people, but even still it kind of kept it like a light touch to particularly the murderer. Whereas this one is all based on like getting into the murderer's mind and figuring out how to catch them or save people or whatever, interject themselves in the story by getting into their brain, like into their psychology, into that space. And how they present it, it is just so much more serious and so much darker. And it's just like, I don't know, it kind of felt like rather than a show about solving crime, it was a show about how fucked up humans can be. And I was like, these people like this are real and they're out there and I get that, but I don't want to like, I listen to true crime podcasts now and I feel like it gives them too much attention in a way. Yeah. So I only listen to podcasts where they really talk about like they try to tell the story and like amplify survival and amplify instincts to, like the whole fuck politeness movement with My Favorite Murder, just where they're really trying to take people's interest in true crime or interest in this kind of stuff and find ways to channel it in a positive way where it's almost like we're not shedding light on the murderer, we're shedding light on the stories. And that's more important to me. And this show sheds light on the murderer. And I don't know.
Yeah,
well, I mean, they're profilers,
Yeah.
so
So that's
obviously
part- yeah.
it's going to take that perspective. Whereas, like CSI took the perspective of the science,
Right,
At least
right.
the original CSI. I didn't watch the spinoffs, but I watched CSI is one of my all-time favorite shows. The Las Vegas one. I'm a big Law and Order fan.
No, that's Miami. That's Miami.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
Miami.
I got really
CSI
excited.
that would be a difference. There's other shows that have done this. Millennium was a show where Lance Henriksen played a profiler, for instance, and it was really dark. But it's just I don't know. It's just I like procedurals a lot. I don't need a show that continues into each episode all the time. I don't mind stuff like this where it's more like case of the week. Now they do have continuity on this show. In fact, that's one of the problems with this show. They're not good at it. So when they do try to do continuing storylines, they don't always work very well. But overall it's a really good cast. It's some really they kind of like Big Bang Theory, like I had said about that and the last time we talked about it. It's a really good cast and they play off each other really well. But I will say that Patinkin was missed once he left, and nothing against Joe Mantegna. I mean, Joe Mantegna is a great actor, but Mandy Patinkin brought something to the show that made it different than most procedurals. And then once he left, it became more of a standard procedural.
It's interesting to think back on that whole thing because it's easy to forget now how fresh CSI was when it started in 2000. Like
Absolutely.
the TV didn't have anything like that. I mean, there've always been crime procedurals,
But it was more science.
But it was more science. It was more like the miracle and investigation of
DNA
puzzles,
and
and it was very modern. And I loved the original CSI. So then,
and much like Patinkin, I think William Peterson was a lot of the reason that show worked so well.
Yeah, he's great. So CSI starts in 2000, and it's really revolutionary. CSI Miami is 2 years later, 2002. There you go. And that's a lot of fun. A little more cheesy. There's David Caruso's character is a little more central to it.
Shame on you.
CSI New York, which people forget about, happened in 2004. And
it was so boring.
And it was extremely boring. And
oh my
around
God, Gary Sinise is he's a really good actor, but I don't know what it is about him on television.
Yeah,
zaps the energy out of the room every time he walks on the set.
And he is a great actor. He gives a wonderful performance in the Disney ride down at Epcot where you go to space. Just great performance. It's probably Oscar worthy. Anyways, that comes out in 2004. And so by that point, I'm like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
And then Criminal Minds is 2005. And I just wasn't interested in throwing something else on there. So, and the NCISs started in 2003, 2004.
I liked NCIS a lot.
Within 5 years, TV was just
murder.
It was all murder crime procedurals, And so it's
I definitely stayed more with the fun, the quote unquote fun ones rather than this particular one. And sending it was difficult too because it is so serious of a show. Although I don't know how it was for you, Jonathan.
I think this is one of the more over the top episodes. So I think that was this was a good pick.
Because we didn't do the pilot of this one.
What did you think of the video, Aaron?
Oh yeah, the pilot's super dark.
I really enjoyed the video. As somebody who doesn't watch the show, I was kind of lost a couple times because I didn't necessarily there's one sin that says, such and such a character, that's who. And I thought maybe there was more if I was a fan of the show that I would understand about that character. And so I did, as somebody who doesn't watch the show, feel a little bit lost. But seeing Jason Alexander try to play that role was fascinating to me. I thought he was
Colonel Costanza.
He was awful, right? Like, am I wrong? I feel like he was awful in that episode.
He's not good. That was one, and I believe that was like a February episode or something. It was a sweeps episode. Maybe it was November.
Yeah, and I like.
He's apparently he was a fan of the show. He's even directed some episodes.
Yeah, but I think
he asked to be on it essentially.
Yeah. But I had a good time. I thought the sins were fun, and I enjoyed the title sin of the title screen where it's like a million words on the screen, and it's just like, oh, why do shows do that? It makes no sense. So
I'd never thought about that until we send it.
Yeah.
And then when I was watching that scene, that screen, I was just like, that is a lot of words.
it is a lot of words.
And I mean,
Definitely
you would
for a
think in
title.
15 years, that thought would have crossed my mind.
Murder pictures like confetti at a parade was
Yeah.
hilarious.
That was aw- and Jeremy's reading of "we" was great.
Yes.
I love throwing out fun words for him to play with.
Yeah, for sure. What about you guys? What were some of your favorite parts?
I want to talk about we wrote some sins about Reed and the very smart kid character that in the unit, and people love him because that was what the majority of the comments were about. So there was the one sin we wrote about him getting all those degrees.
Oh, yeah.
And people got really in depth in the comments about how you could pull that off.
Right.
I want to point out, though, that sin is one of those things where it's a really long sin and it has all this information in it, but we're making fun of wiki fandom pages.
That's right. You turn it at the end, so it's not actually about that.
Cracked did an article on this on his character, talking about, I can't remember what the rule of thumb is, but what is it to become an expert in any discipline takes so many thousand hours.
Oh, that is a book by
Dr. Seuss.
no, Malcolm Gladwell, one of my favorite authors.
Okay, so maybe you can explain. I couldn't remember.
I forget what the book is called, but yes, the basic idea is that to be an expert at something, I think it's 10,000 hours. I think you have to spend
something
10,000
like that.
hours.
And this
at it,
show does this thing where whatever the situation is, let's say the killer uses poetry. Reed is all of a sudden an expert on poetry.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why people will watch a show, is because of the main characters. It's for some people it is about solving crimes and stuff like that. But you find those characters that you really like, and then that's why you go back. Reed's like the guy. He's young, and I mean he's hard to relate to in some ways because he's so smart. But then it's just his delivery of his lines. There was a sin I think that we kept in part of it, and then we cut some of it. But he goes on this really long explanation as to
the Fibonacci sequence,
the murderer, why he's murdering, and it goes on for a really long time. Reed goes on probably 3 minutes of him explaining not just why the murderer would do this, but the whole explanation as to what the Fibonacci sequence is and all of the math and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's when the GIF thing, the sin about this should be the calculating GIF, GIF, whatever. And it's right around that time where he's kind of putting all these puzzle pieces together, and then he runs over, and rather than telling everyone, and this is probably one of the biggest things I don't like about this episode, or maybe even the show, I don't know, is he spends so much time explaining it instead of being like, I know where they are, let's just do this, and everybody would be like, cool, Reed, you don't have to explain it, or explain it on the way.
Yeah.
And everything
Show your work later.
really falls apart. Even if Colonel Costanza is not acting great, you could have some fun stuff happening in the show that would make this puzzle piece make sense. But they threw everything into this, even so much as and I wrote a sin about it, but there's so many different reasons that he had to be a killer. It was genetics, it was art, it was math, it was all of these different things, and then it was revenge. It just kept changing and changing and changing. And I think it's supposed to be this thing where you think that he's killing this woman and the children in this torture chamber, but really what it is that they're fine, and he wants to kill the team when they go to the house. But it only works if it's a certain number within the Fibonacci sequence. And so, but then that falls apart, because what if somebody wasn't feeling well that day, or they decided to, take a piss in the woods before, and then even if it's an acid shower when the door opens, it's not like everyone's going to run in at the same time and be bathed in acid. They're going to stop. And, so nothing actually, once you start thinking about it, makes sense. And which is why I love the sin about Jeremy. When Jeremy's like, I can think of several places to hide a woman and children, and then he names all the places, and fuck you, show, for making me think like this. That's me going oh, I hate that I have to think like this. Right. But everything falls apart. This guy is an idiot.
And you can't have an idiot in an episode called Mastermind, where you're trying, or Masterpiece, when you're trying to have him be this big criminal mastermind.
Yeah. I really like
But the Fibonacci sequence thing was insane. Like, I mean, that's the whole if you didn't catch that, Aaron, just watching the video, not seeing the episode, his killings are based on the Fibonacci sequence.
I love the Fibonacci sequence.
And then he managed
too,
to take
it's
a
insane.
map and where the secret house was matched up on the map.
Right, to the magical circle of the Fibonacci
Yeah,
series
yeah.
or whatever, yeah.
It was silliness.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed the goldenrat.net sin and the people in the comments going like, wait, that took me to Disney. Was that right? Yes.
That was fun,
That's right. It takes you to Disney.com. I was so nervous. Going there. Because,
Really?
Yeah, because you don't know. Like you're typing in a web address and you don't know where you're going.
I never get nervous. What's the worst
man.
that's going to happen?
It's something scary. A virus.
FBI show up at your door.
Yeah, I don't know. But
Be in jail for the rest of your life?
I probably typed it in about 8 or 9 times before the confidence to go, okay, I'm going to write a sin about this. And I think I'm going to ask everyone to go and check it out for themselves, which I don't know normally doesn't happen in a,
Right.
like, when does Jeremy ever have a call to action to go to a website in his, sinning? So I was a bit nervous about that, but it worked out well. Apparently Golden Rat is Mickey Mouse.
Who knows?
He's the golden rat? I don't know. Or they were like, cool, yeah, people are going to go to that. And then they just snatched up the website. I don't know. But what a weird... Because you would think that like the people who invented this show or wrote this show would have gone to that website and realized that it was Disney. So I'm thinking that Disney bought it after the show.
Makes sense.
And like redirected it or whatever. I don't know.
I
find that stuff fascinating though.
It is
Well, and I mean, Disney has like, because I didn't know because it was a CBS show, but Disney has like worldwide distribution rights to it or something.
So if Disney owns the show,
that could have
it
something
makes
to do
sense.
with it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Well, good work, guys.
Thanks.
Enjoyed it very much.
It was fun.
Let's move on to Halsey. You Should Be Sad is the name of the song. And
Let's talk about barn orgy.
So this music video is, I think the phrase from the video was countrified dance bacchanal.
Did you say
Yes. Should I make sure? Countrified? Countrified?
I'm just saying.
No, you're right.
I heard it weird.
You heard the first syllable and and your brain did stuff. I get it. I get it.
Ding!
So anyhow, this song is, I don't know. It's hard for me now to separate the song from the video. What is this video doing to this song? Like the song feels to me a little more laid back and interesting and like a love. And this video is like, no.
I like the song. I like the song quite a bit. Did you see her perform it on Saturday Night Live?
I usually skip the musical artists on Saturday Night Live.
And I mean, granted, she was dressed up like a cowboy in lingerie or whatever on Saturday Night Live. I mean, there was definitely sexual appeal to the performance, but she definitely, it's more of a, I guess it's more, I don't know really if the song would be considered fun because it's not about something great, but I don't know, it's catchy.
Yeah. This video completely attaches itself to the song like a leech and changes the very dynamic. It's like a parasite. The video is like a parasite to the song and completely changes the dynamic of it. Like I don't know.
I think I like this video better than the two of you.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, sing its praises, Jonathan. Like
I'm not. I mean, it's kind of like Criminal Minds. I'm not saying it's like the greatest thing ever, but I like Halsey. I don't like all of her music. I feel that I don't know. Kind of like we were talking before the show. I don't know if some of this will be in the outtakes about the Jennifer Lopez Shakira stuff, but like,
that stuff will be in the outtakes. Yeah,
Halsey's a young woman she's clearly very comfortable in her body, and I don't know. I always find that I don't know what the word for that would be.
Well, there's an empowerment to it.
Yeah, I guess that I don't know. I guess it's like having a daughter. I guess I maybe now I look at some of the stuff differently, but I think even though it may sound weird to say she gives off a good image, I think there is something to be said about being comfortable in your body. And granted, I mean, I don't know why she wouldn't be, but But I think there is something to be said about that. I mean, it's not, I don't, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, we did.
Does that sound wrong?
No. We were talking about the Super Bowl, and we did have a conversation about body image versus, body positivity versus, control and pressure and those kind of things. And Danae, you had said, hey, let's hold some of this for the Halsey conversation. So I'm really interested to hear kind of where you wanted to go with that, what you had to say about that.
Well, I think that in my very small experience of reading articles and listening to women talk about the music industry, that it is run by men, and it is oftentimes women are sexually assaulted and encouraged to use their bodies to sell records. And so I think that as time goes on in their careers, they embrace that part and they
make peace with it.
They make peace with it and they become comfortable with it. But I wonder if there were different people that were in charge, who were behind the cameras, who were behind the record deals, who are not creepy and horrible people. I wonder if the females in the music industry would be representing themselves the way that they do. That said, I don't know that it's a bad thing because, listen, I've been assaulted in my past. I know what it's like to have something done to me and then embrace it and use it as a power. And so that is, to me, something that, I wouldn't be the same person had those things not happened to me. And so I don't want to say to...
And that doesn't mean they're
Lady
okay.
Gaga that I would. That's what I'm saying. As I would never want to say to anybody oh, thank God you were sexually assaulted and then your career took off. It's more like, fuck, this is just what it is. Thank God you're talking about it and that you're trying to find your way through it.
You're controlling the things you can control.
When I saw this particular video, I was sad. It made me very sad.
Because of those issues?
Yeah, it's just, to me, it seems like this person... I could not enjoy her art because all I could see was the sex of it all. And
now I feel terrible liking it.
No, you shouldn't feel. We all have different opinions. It's just, this is my opinion. Although, if I at 25 if I had jumped into the music industry, I may have made all of the same choices on my own without this could all happen without any we don't know how Halsey, I've never even heard of this person, Halsey. We don't know. I'm not saying she was objectified. I don't know her rise to success.
Yeah, I don't know
anyone's rise to success. And I don't want to say that there's no female in the industry who hasn't come to power and recognition without having something happen sexually or whatever, or some kind of exploitation. I believe that there could be a woman out there who is where it's happened, where there's more respect and I don't know, less of a push to show your body because it does sell records, yo. Like people like to look at the curves of a body. Men like to look at that. Women like to look at that. It captures your attention. And it does make sense. But to me, there's there's something about what I saw that was man, I hope that she's got voices in her circle that are talking about her power as a person and her perspective and her voice that can make a change. And it doesn't have to be tits and ass. It doesn't have to be that. And I hope that there's somebody in her circle that can tell her that, so that if she doesn't want to do that, she doesn't have to, that she doesn't sign some record and then the label decides who's going to direct it and then she is told this is what you have to do, because oftentimes artists don't have that strong voice to stand up for themselves, and so they're selling records and they're famous and they're popular and they're selling records and that's what they want to do. And so it's just this, I don't know, I just think it's, if I could make me sad.
But she might want to do that too,
but
right?
Legit, so I'm making a lot of assumptions. You know what I'm saying? This is just my thoughts about.
But we can't possibly know either way. She could be being forced to do that. I have no idea.
We don't know. What it reminds me of, I'm not saying her, what it reminds me of is that is something that happens. So I'm not saying it happens, like you said, not saying it happens with her. I'm saying it reminds me of that. And that just bums me out.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I'm so glad that because when you hear the outtakes, you'll hear a little bit of this, but your perspective on the halftime show was different. It didn't make you sad. The halftime show did not make you sad. And I don't know, is it because they're older?
Probably.
And probably because you assume that their motives, they own their motives more. I think
they have more power now.
Right.
Halsey's 25.
She doesn't have the power.
I don't think she has power.
That is one thing about it that, there's
I could be wrong.
Right,
sure.
there's two things about the video that I find icky. A, barns are disgusting, and I am never having sex in hay.
Never say
icky.
never.
No, I'm never. I can assure you I'm never having sex in a barn. Or hay. Because rightfully so, hay would be in places that you do not want it. And I'm allergic to hay. That's the big thing. But yeah, she's 25, right? She's like, I mean, she's not a kid, but I mean, that's 18 years. 18 years younger than me, almost 19 years. That's a little weird sometimes.
Oh, sure. I get it. But
I'm never going to be that guy dating somebody 20 years younger. So.
Yeah, but nobody's asking you to date Halsey, right? Like, there's this interesting thing.
No, that's not what I meant. I'm sorry.
No. I think I get what you mean, and I think it's important for us to make the distinction between the idea of being attracted to someone, being physically attracted to someone, being, seeing something sensual and having that, move that part of you or whatever, is different than any actions you would make in real life or anything you would do, like dating a 20-year-old or, whatever the case may be. And I think it is important to remember that this is not reality. And the problem is that unfortunately our brain likes to turn things into reality. And so that is part of the concern as well with both the Super Bowl show and this or whatever. Part of the concern that's expressed is the idea of this is what's valuable. This body type is the type of body that is the one that is valuable. And so there's all these different parts and pieces of this issue that is not going to be solved by a sentence or a paragraph. It's going to be when we continue to look at each other as humans and say, tell me about your motives. Tell me about your feelings. Tell me about the power you feel you have or don't have. Tell me about, why you love your body, why you don't love your body. Tell me, when we talk to people about these things, I think that's when we start to see growth in an understanding of where value comes from, which, by the way, is not their body. So it's kind of one of those things where, sure, value doesn't come from the shape of my body, but the shape of my body is bringing me a bunch of dollars. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Value also doesn't come from how many dollars you have. So, it's interesting.
I think I love this conversation. It's dangerous conversation.
It's very dangerous.
I'm terrified.
But I think
that everything I've said is going to be taken the wrong way.
No. I think
Jonathan's a perv.
We need grace to be able to have these kinds of conversations, y'all. And hopefully you guys that are listening can hear that we try our best to kind of formulate our words in the moment. For me, I think what I'm talking about is such a bigger picture thing. The video is fine. It's a really interesting, super sexually charged, this is an orgy sex video, and maybe she's trying to make some sort of statement about Shania Twain and Lady Gaga, and so I can't remember what other person, but she has these little outfit changes, and definitely Shania Twain's in there. So maybe there's some deeper meaning there, but all you see is sex, and so you miss the lyrics, you miss her artistry, and that right there is a red flag for me, number one. And then again, my assumptions about the music culture, which I will put on any video any day of the week, whether it's a young rapper. Yeah. There was a young rap person that was on the ice cream truck that we did early on in the show.
Yeah.
Similar feeling, right? She's just so young and, it's all about sex and it sells, but is she having meaningful conversations that help her to know the decisions that she's making? And is she going to be fine? Sure. I'm sure everybody is going to be just fine in my happy little world, but I don't know.
But they're not. No.
But I know for a fact personally that men tend to say, exploit yourself to get this. And it's it is an easier jump to make. I could easily be making a lot of money having a private Snapchat. I know that those are options that we have. Well, guys can too. But I'm just saying that there's
but not the same way.
But it's not the same way.
Right. Yeah.
And it's because we've so sexualized the human female figure over so many other things. So whenever you see it in a video, it's just part of my consciousness. So I really hope you guys are okay with me going there. Sorry, I know it's kind of more dark and serious.
It also has to do with that we've alienated sex from so many people too, right? Yep. I mean, or we've made it seem taboo.
Yes, that's
other countries, they don't give a shit, and we're more prone to show bodies than we are. I mean, dead bodies than we are.
Yeah, the naked
alive bodies, if that makes sense.
I know, right? Hey, listen, can we just take an emotional tater tot break?
Hey, from a technical standpoint, though, also on the video, I liked which obviously Halsey's probably got money backing her to, she's popular enough to where her videos actually have a budget. But I love incorporating different genres into different styles. So like putting like line dancing, which is typically a country thing, into a pop song like this. I love stuff like that. That's just a personal thing that I enjoy.
Yeah, mixing it up like that.
Yeah, and I don't know, visually, I mean, taken outside of the sexual aspects to it, I just thought the video was really interesting visually. I thought it was really interesting to set it in a barn, and I don't know. I'd like to know kind of more about the making of it, I guess. It intrigued me.
Yeah. What about the video itself? I enjoyed the scene that said, imagine how it must smell in there. I thought that was really funny. What about you guys?
I liked whenever I asked Barrett his thoughts on writing, and he just wrote back barn orgy.
Nice.
Like nothing else. Most of the time he'll write something. This time it's just like barn orgy.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun for me to go and watch the video, not knowing what he was talking about, and then it's like, oh yeah, no, this is all it is. Just big.
He said some more stuff in there, didn't he?
Yeah, he said it's a song about breaking up with her ex and how difficult it was, but the video had nothing to do with that. It's very orgy forward, and honestly, I'm a fan of orgies, but this one felt a little, what is this word? Vacuous? Vacuous?
Vacuous.
Vacuous. Meaning empty. Whoa, it's such a cool word.
It is.
It's vacuous. I wrote down a few that I really liked. Get it off my chest. We'll make sure that's quick because there's not much there.
Yeah, that was great.
Material. I think he specifically says material because that's a different sin if he doesn't say
right.
material.
He does.
That's true. That's true. And then his quick cuts, talking about how it's all quick cuts, and then he said this video doesn't want you to masturbate. Really made me laugh. And then the orgy referee.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It's
So
good stuff.
yeah.
Can you imagine the wet spot in a barn was one I liked?
Yeah.
Like at the very end, and then finding hay in weird places for weeks. Those were a couple other things I noted.
Yeah. Listen.
Which is true because barns are gross.
Barns are gross, but they can also be used for non-gross things. I went to a wedding this weekend that was in a barn.
Yeah.
In a horse barn.
Yeah.
So I bet
there
that
you go.
smelled great.
Did it smell like manure?
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
My
That's
dad
the thing.
loved.
You can't. It's like if you have cats in your house. Like you can never like that. No matter what people try to tell you, no matter how much they clean, it always smells like you have cats in your house. Barns always smell like manure.
My dad grew up on a farm and doing farming, and so he's always liked the smell of barn. So anytime we go anywhere and there's a barn, he's like, ah.
There was also a whiteboard that had names and then beside it dates and then causes of death.
What?
Yeah.
At the wedding?
At the wedding
At
in
the
the
Oh, I
barn.
thought I missed something in the music video.
Me too, for a quick second, but now I'm even more concerned because this is real life, yo.
Well, but I'm sure it was horse names. I'm sure it was the names of horses they had lost and how they had lost them.
Make a plaque.
Did these people like to go to butterfly reserves or?
No, they don't. It was actually a beautiful
Won't
wedding.
get that till the outtakes if it's in there.
All right, let's move on to the CinemaSins videos for the week. We will start with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Spooky.
Danae, did you watch this video?
Nope. I'm going to sit back and eat tater tots while y'all talk about it.
PG-13. I was so.
You guys need to tell me this stuff ahead of time.
I'm so
Like, in the
sad now
notes,
because this was one of my favorite videos to work on.
When you
didn't
send
watch
it to me, you say, you're good to go.
I would have cautioned you on
honestly don't
Joker
know
before I
what all
cautioned you on
have
Scary
problems
Stories.
I mean, I did watch Joker. I'm all messed up.
Yeah.
I clearly don't have a good idea.
I don't mean that mean, but I'm saying because I don't know, I'm nervous to suggesting because I don't want to accidentally trigger you or.
Hey man, I don't even understand myself, so we're good.
By the
I'll
way,
do my best to
It's
let
funny
you know
that
better.
you just said that right there. You sound like Kristen Bell a lot of the time. Like it's really funny how the whole thing about her helping you. But every time I watch The Good Place, I'm just like, this has to be how Danae is in real life.
Yep, right now I'm eating a tater tot because I don't care. Aaron,
you could totally, yeah. Like she finds shrimp in her dress. I'm assuming you find tater tots.
okay, so I legit pulled one out of my bra earlier.
A shrimp?
And then I could so see you saying fork, like actually saying fork.
I tweeted it yesterday.
Yeah,
You did. That's right.
Yeah. Anyways, this was a fun video. I've never seen the movie. Jonathan, I think you're the only one that's seen the movie. So if you want to talk a little bit
I saw
about
it in the
it.
theater, and then I watched it a couple more times for this. It's a movie that's it's really grown on me. Like I liked it fine when I saw it in the theater, but I've liked it better each time I've watched it. It's like a B. I mean, I'm not saying it's great.
It felt like it had an urban legends feel to it.
Very much
Is
so.
that-
Well, it's based on a series of books that I read as a kid. I don't know when they came out, but I mean, they were very popular in the 80s, and I still own them. And it was more well known for the drawings. There was this, I can't remember who the artist is, but
oh my gosh,
huh?
I think I just had a memory of those books. They
it was like scary
black
stories
and
to tell in
white.
the dark, more scary stories to tell in the dark. And
Oh
it
my
was like
gosh.
these really, I don't know how to explain the drawings, but they're just really,
like stretched out and haunty looking.
Yeah,
They're
like kinda abstract and odd
drippy, sort of. Oh my God, I read these and they tear. Oh God, it's terrible.
Yeah. And all the stories are basically like urban legends. Like there's the hook and the spiders, which you actually see in this movie in somebody's face. And
Did you ever see these books, Aaron?
No.
Oh shit, dude! Can I show you the scariest thing you'll ever see ever?
Sure.
It's probably like rated G for you.
Yeah.
These are images from the book. It was so frightening. This stuff was it was so horrible.
they re-released them like in the 90s or the early aughts without the artwork in them, and people complained, like people rioted.
I mean,
that's the main draw of them.
it was so it's like pencil drawings where like stringy hair and then these weird like elongated body parts.
Yeah, it reminds me of like horror pictures I've seen before, or even like the
in real life,
in like the Girl in the Ring.
Samaria.
So yeah,
I had totally forgotten about that. That was a horrible thing to relive.
Did you read those?
Yes, that was
Okay.
Might be why I'm like nope.
Maybe it's good you didn't watch the video.
God,
I
that
don't
was
know.
so frightening.
But yeah, so they take a few of the stories out of there and kind of incorporate them into this. I do wonder if this would work better as an anthology. And a bunch of people in the comments said they thought it would be better as like a series on Netflix.
Yeah, that feels right.
But I think they do as good of a job as they do a pretty good job with it the way they choose to make it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm not interested. Like I watched this and I know you guys have said that it's okay, but I'm not interested in seeing this.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's not going to blow you away or anything. I mean, I don't think it's an Aaron Dicer movie that needs.
No.
It's not a movie you need to watch for any reason, unless you
Doesn't feel like it. I should mention this is a Cher Watkins script, so Barrett and Jonathan wrote on this one. From the video itself, I guess I'll start since Danae hasn't seen it. I liked the pumpkin spiced patty melt sin. I thought that was really funny, and also it was great because I just love those keen observations where it's like there's no way they would be just now putting a jack-o'-lantern out. On Halloween.
That was really cool. Yeah, like, Barrett did that.
If you're in retail, you've got seasonal stuff up a month ahead of time at least, So I thought that was a great observation. And this had one of our go-to jokes that is, for me, one of the hardest to really zone in on when it works and when it doesn't. And it's where they said, it's not your fault. And then the narrator just says, it was, or it is. I love that joke, but it only really works in certain places.
Absolutely, but it worked well there because it was her fault. So.
Right, and I think it works where the movie is wrong about what it's saying. Like if the intention is like that a character doesn't understand something they're not supposed to understand, it doesn't work. Like if the world's going to end and we say it wouldn't, that doesn't work if the characters really believe the world isn't going to end. But in these situations where it really was her fault, the movie just doesn't want you to think that, then I think that's where it works.
Yeah, and it's a really cliched scene too. I mean, you see those in movies all the time. No, it's not your fault.
Right, exactly.
And in real life for that matter.
I have like a super perfect run of it won't. And it's not something that's going to be released until Sin Week. It's so far away.
I was going to say though, Danae, you didn't write on this one, but you nail those usually. Like you're the one I think who nails them more than most people that on the staff.
Thanks.
You had one in a script we're combining right now. I believe. I think was it.
That's interesting. I wonder if we'll talk about the Sin Week videos on Behind the Sins.
We have to. Oh my God, we can't not.
I know,
God, I just got so triggered because there's one that I hate so much.
I know.
And I want to talk about it so bad. And I even tweeted about it months ago, and I haven't had an outlet yet.
I know. That's why I thought of it. That's why I mentioned it.
It's a 5-hour episode.
That is the one where I did the won't. He won't. There's so much. Oh, I hate that.
Well, another good reason to become
No, I'm wrong. We did do this one. The one I'm talking about, we have done. It's You've Got Mail.
Oh, yeah.
And when Tom Hanks is in there and it's like, they're going to riot. They won't. It happens over and over again. So I was sorry. I got my movies I hated mixed up.
Well, the point still remains. There is one coming out at Sin Week that you that you really want to talk about.
Yeah.
Maybe you and Barrett will be able to talk about that together at Sin Week.
Listen, Barrett and I have a mutual respect that is just continuing to grow as I've been on this team. But in this one particular area for this one particular movie, I think he hates me because I hate it. It's super uncomfortable.
It is funny, right? Like, it's interesting how we judge each other for the movies we like and don't like.
When we were all together last week, he's like, "You really don't like it?" And I'm like, "No, I really don't like it." And that's just fascinating.
Although I was there and he brought up a couple things about the movie that you actually like. So, like, he mentioned a couple scenes, you're like, "Oh yeah, that's funny," or "Oh yeah, I like that."
That guy is clearly not deterred that easily, though, because he's been friends with me for like 25 years. So.
Okay, good. We're all good. No, there are some things I liked about it, and maybe the word hate. You know what? I'll talk about it when we talk about that movie.
Very nice.
Okay.
Very nice.
Anyway, sorry to disrupt
you're
this
good.
movie to talk about something we can't talk about. How amazing was that to listen to? Apologies. Moving on. Sorry.
What about you, Jonathan? Anything else from the video you wanted to mention?
The nastiest case of hay fever I've ever seen, I thought was really funny. And and then the one of the things I really enjoyed doing was, because I love this in movies when this happens, but it was like where we talk about how it's really good they didn't do something, but then we don't understand why they didn't do it. So in this one, for instance, the whole movie is about a book, obviously, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So they based the movie around this book that this girl who's dead now had written all these scary stories, and they come to life. And she takes the book back to the haunted house, and then all of a sudden it's back in her room, and there's another character there with her that knew about the book, and she doesn't actually like accuse him. Like most movies, the character would accuse that person, like, "Why did you go get the book and bring it back? Why are you fucking with me?" She doesn't do that. So we actually say, like, "I'm super glad we don't have to go through the nonsense of Stella accusing Ramon of going back and getting the book." But then at the same time, why doesn't she think he went back and got the book?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was, I like when we're able to kind of play around with tropes like that, I guess, or cliches.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Let's move on to Joker. This was an Atkinson Scott script. The OGs coming together, Chris and Jeremy, to write on the Joker. And as it was stated in a certain to be uncontroversial minutes or less on the webpage. So I've spoken about this plenty. Danae, you've never seen the movie?
No, but I got to watch it on the Sins video.
Yeah, you did. Jonathan, remind me your thoughts on Joker. Are you
I don't think I've given them, because I just watched it for the first time pretty recently.
Okay, yeah.
It came out in the theater. I think it was fall break, is my daughter's fall break. So we were out of town. And then by the time I got back, I just didn't really want to see it anymore, because I was just mainly because of the discussion surrounding it. I don't know. It didn't feel like it would be a good experience. But I watched it before I did the edit on this video, and it was not a good experience. I did not like the movie at all.
Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit, because I'm interested to hear your reasons and if they kind of match up.
It's weird. So I get that it does look good, and I think Joaquin Phoenix gives a very fine performance. I totally get why he's nominated and all that fun stuff. But it's interesting. People were comparing it to like Taxi Driver and King of Comedy for obvious reasons. And I do actually really, really like those movies. But I think the difference, it feels to me that like Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, I feel like there's an actual character arc there. Mm-hmm. I don't really get that in this movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like the movie is more than those. I feel like in this movie, the movie really wants you to root for him, and I'm not comfortable doing that.
Yeah,
kind of like what Danae was saying, her issues with what she had seen of Criminal Minds was.
Right.
And then also the movie chooses to go in this really weird direction with mental health that I wasn't really on board with. And I also didn't really care for the fact that they're making this big deal about how it's kind of this different type of comic book, but they still have the Waynes in it. And it's like they kind of try to shoehorn Batman in there, like just in case this becomes like more of a franchise, I guess. And it just feels really inauthentic.
I agree with everything you've said. To me, it's the movie this year where I have the hardest time even understanding when people try to explain why they love it. Like I feel like they're explaining, the Emperor's beautiful robes, and I'm like, he's naked. The Emperor has he's walking down the street with with no clothes on. Like, can't you see that? Like, there's nothing there. It's empty. The message is false and inauthentic. And I don't know. There's nothing about this movie foundationally that I enjoy. Presentationally, I agree with you. The performances are great. Joaquin is incredible. And visually, it is beautiful and spectacular. And I really resonated, and we can kind of move in. I don't want to spend a ton of time on, necessarily relitigating the Joker, but we can move into the video, because one of the things I really loved was the comment, one of the most well-made movies I've ever hated.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Which is a perfect way to describe this movie for me. Although I don't know that I would say I hated it. That takes a little bit more for me, but I really
I
enjoy
use
it.
that word freely, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, you do. So what else? What about you guys? Danae, we haven't heard really from you since you haven't seen the movie. What did you think about the video? Do you feel like you got a good idea of the movie?
Yeah, I do, which is really nice to be able to say. Sometimes they're a bit confusing, but the script really kind of took you on the Joker journey. I thought the clips that were selected were really helped to kind of understand. In this case, the script tells you right at the top that some of it's in his head, which is nice to know when you're watching, something that you really don't want to see, that you're not like going to have to go back and do some sort of twist sort of reality. So I think it kind of firmly planted me in this. I don't know. This script was, I thought, so well written, because I really genuinely felt like I understood what was going on from a good perspective, the good parts of a movie, but that it really also just continued to point out the stuff that didn't work, both in easy sins, like the ones continuity or whatever, the easy pulls, the low hanging fruit, and also like the deeper dissection of it. So I really had a good time watching it.
What was some of your favorite stuff?
Well, I wrote down some things, but I also have a lot from Jeremy and Chris.
Oh, why don't we get into that?
So I thought maybe I should go into that too.
Yeah, go into that.
So, buckle in, everybody, because they have a lot to say. Jeremy said, I did all kinds of research on Joker. The year is supposedly 1981, but then stuff like answering machines and VCRs are made to seem commonplace. So I looked up a lot about that stuff, which is kind of cool, because that stuff they're right, it was so expensive.
Yeah.
I remember like my mom and dad buying an answering machine. That was a big deal.
Yeah. My grandpa worked for RCA, so we had that stuff early.
Yeah. Free, because he stole it all, right?
Stole it all.
My grandparents were rich, so they had that stuff early.
Nice.
So he also said that he had to pause and rewatch the subway shooting a few times to count the gunshots.
Okay.
For that particular scene. One of his favorite sins is about the massive surplus of the specific clown mask in the city of Gotham, which was another one that I really liked too. The movie frustrates me because it wants to be gritty and realistic, but then also lean on the "it might have all been in his mind" thing. It also relies way too much on Batman and Batman lore in a laborious way. I also struggle personally with how casually this movie treats mental illness and how it blames Arthur's slide on his unnamed mental illness.
Well, clearly Jeremy and I had very similar opinions.
Yeah. A lot of the pieces work. The camera work is awesome. Joaquin is awesome. The set design is awesome, but there's nothing here. There's no story to tell, or arc to follow, or lesson to learn, which is perhaps why it's been so embraced by so many. I think a lot of people related to the whole "I used to wonder if I ever existed" mentality, not because or not being noticed by society, but he's a murderer. But all the movie does is build up walls around that fact with things like he's mentally ill and he was abused and the government took away his drugs and psych help and he gets picked on. None of these are justification for murder or even for crime. And lastly, by making Joker's laugh a mental, physical compulsion, they rob the character of what makes him scary. Now he's just laughing because of some nervous tic or Tourette's-like compulsion, but because he thinks crime and chaos and death is hilarious, which is always what made Joker so evil to me as a comic reader. As much as Batman loved justice, Joker loved chaos and carnage more. And this movie's Joker would take Batman 4 minutes to beat up and imprison and wouldn't scare anyone. I'm done now. I really hate this movie.
Jeremy and I are the comic readers, and while he's saying that made me think. I mean, maybe part of it is too that I don't want like comic books shown in a more realistic manner, maybe.
Yeah.
Because it is weird. I mean, it's like the Joker's like this goofy he's a murderer and stuff in the comics, but I don't know, but comic book aesthetic and real life aesthetic are two different things.
I don't know. I loved Batman Begins though.
But Batman Begins still that would probably be the best version of that. And some of the MCU movies try to do that to a point too, but I think the balance is better.
I think that
than it is in Joker.
I think that what happened here is like, and I didn't watch it, but everyone says the same stuff. People who liked it, people who didn't like it, is it feels like an origin story that there's just disappointment in the Joker origin story because, you know, that's not the Joker that I knew either. But then at the same time, like Batman Begins was such a cool experience in the theater to see, like, because Batman was my favorite.
I'm so glad you said Batman Begins and not Dark Knight. I love Dark Knight, by the way. I just think Batman Begins is better.
Oh, so it was so rad. I think that is the only movie I have ever like been so excited about at the end that I actually stood up and was like, yeah, that's how you do a movie. I was so happy.
Especially if you had seen Batman and Robin, you know, that was you're watching that like, you know, however many years later, 6 years later, and just like, wow, that's how you should do the character.
So Chris said Joker is such a curiosity. I really wonder if we'd be talking about it if the movie wasn't called Joker. Take out the DC references and just make it about a guy who becomes a hero to the lower class when he kills a rich guy on a train. Do we see many Oscars in that movie's future? Because, except maybe for Joaquin Phoenix, this movie is being elevated and as special, and it's not. That's why it's weird to say that it's a good movie. It's better than your average flick, but against the lofty opinions of others, it doesn't look all that great. I actually didn't write a ton of sins for this. That is somewhat a testament to its quality, which is interesting for him to say, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's like, it's not good, but it's quality, right? Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's why people like to talk about, there's so much like a debate over it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of mind-blowing. I'm going to say this name wrong, so you'll have to correct. He says, but one part I'm proud of, right or wrong, is the sin that I wrote about the parallel between Arthur and Bernard Goetz. Getz. Sorry, everybody.
I think that's right.
Getz? Goetz.
I think it's Getz.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Getz subway killing had racial connotations and a number of discussions about when it's right to defend yourself. This movie tries to get Gothamites to say it's all about lower class sticking it to the rich people, but it really doesn't earn it. It makes Arthur into a sympathetic character because we've seen everybody be assholes to him. But everyone has been assholes to him, rich and poor alike, and the movie makes it seem justified. True, Todd Phillips may have just been using Getz as a model for his own story, and it doesn't matter that the two killings don't have the same connotations. But everything around those subway killings kickstarts a discussion in Gotham that doesn't make much sense unless Arthur gets caught and lies about his reasoning for killing them. Everyone in Gotham jumps on this rich versus poor thing for reasons that are unclear. I don't know if that entirely makes sense, but there you go, he says. I think it made sense.
I do too.
I didn't watch the movie. It made sense to me.
Yeah. I know all those are good thoughts.
I think the thing that I hear over and over again is like the love of the idea that it's hard to root for Joker because he's a murderer. And so this is like it's a murder porn in a way.
Yeah.
But,
like,
but there are movies where murderers are the main characters and they're really well done. It's a very fine line.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Todd Phillips had the grace to pull it off. But I mean, you know, he's made good movies. I'm not saying he hasn't, but I don't know. I don't know. It just made me icky.
Yeah.
So what about the video itself? What are some things that you saw in the video you like, Jonathan?
I loved they cast Robert De Niro in the remake of King of Comedy. That was funny and almost kind of trolling, but like, you know, I mean, if you don't want us to think about King of Comedy, don't cast Robert De Niro in that role. I mean, clearly Todd Phillips was paying homage to that.
Yeah.
The pointing out that they had that the prison cage around the mailboxes.
Yeah.
It's apartment complex.
Yep.
I don't know why I thought that just I was dying when I saw that the first time. And then I loved the thing about the Harmony Korine sequel to Trash Humpers, 32 short films shot near a Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
I like the Joker stalking, joke hawking. I don't know. The combination of words. Ones are ones I always enjoy.
The portmanteaus.
The portmanteaus.
I enjoyed the Michael W. Smith t-shirt reference.
Did that really happen?
I don't know. I also enjoyed Matricide, which is a perfect pun. I like that quite a bit. And then I liked the observation about the 11:11 on the clock.
Yeah.
And I I didn't see it in the comments anywhere, but I'm almost sure, I could be wrong, but this makes a lot of sense to me. In general, in advertising, they set clocks to 10:10. And the reason they set clocks to 10:10 in advertising is because it looks like a human smile. And so it's more cheery, and it actually has a positive, like, subconscious impact.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm wondering if this is like 11:11 is like the inauthentic version of this, like it's an even bigger smile.
Maybe.
And it's kind of fake, and it kind of represents the Joker's smile, which is, not authentic, but it's forced. And I think that's probably why they did it. But
Except for that last one.
except, what do you mean?
In the
There's
video,
one where
there's
it's
one
not.
clock where it's not 11:11.
Yeah, except for the last one. But so I thought it was interesting because I think they mentioned something about the number 11 and what it means, but I'm guessing it's probably more about the subliminal advertising of the 10:10, because the 10:10 is a famous, like, advertising trick they'll talk about. So
Interesting. My mom always told me you made a wish at 11:11 when I was a kid.
Yeah, the 1111 is something that a lot of people have clung on to over the years, including Jordan Peele and us.
It really works. It's magic.
It is magic. It's totally magic.
That's why I'm a millionaire.
And it was so hard
But
for me
I'm
not to
not.
sing the 11.
Sing it.
Oh, no, it wouldn't make any sense.
Sing it.
11:11 is the day when the cheese, 11:11 and the bacon will be the best of friends. It's cheese and bacon day.
Is this an actual song?
Ooh, cheese and bacon day.
I think you have a beautiful voice today. I can't wait to hear that at Sun Week. When we do our duet of
Yes. The cheese and
9 to
bacon
5.
duet.
That is an actual thing in today's world, Cheese and Bacon Day
Yes, it is.
in
Oh,
November.
is that
And
a
that's
thing
a
just
song
for you specifically?
A song I made up. No, my husband started it with his friends before we had even met, and they would get together on 11:11 and eat cheese and bacon related whatevers and watch TV and hang out. And it was a no girls allowed thing. And so when we started dating, I rallied all of his friends that were females to be like, you need to include us too. So then we all got to celebrate together and had friends over. That'd be like cheesecake and
Anything cheese and bacon related.
like bacon burgers.
There's a day where I eat a lot of bacon and cheese, but it's 420.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were going to say it's called Monday. I always give them a little bit of grief because November 11th is also Veterans Day.
I know.
Every year.
Yep. Yep.
So you've taken Veterans Day and turned it into Cheese and Bacon Day?
I did not do it. I started to join, and then we haven't celebrated in a long, long time. But I did make up the song, and then I taught it to Iris, and now she sings it, and it's really cute. So we haven't actually celebrated in probably
Just at the end of the
7
song,
years.
just be like, and also thank you, veterans. Like, just something. No?
No, I mean I could, sure.
Fair enough. You guys ready to move on to keeping tabs?
Let's
do it.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're going to tell a story from putting together the content for the week. We'll go around the circle and each mention something that stood out to us from the week. You're just in a singing mood today.
I am.
It's amazing.
Oh, okay.
Jonathan, what's your story from the week?
Well, I didn't have really anything I looked up, but on the Criminal Minds script, there were so many sins on the cutting room floor for that one. I thought I'd mention one of them that I wrote. One of the things that the show does that just drives me nuts is the idea that there are people out there that know who these people are. Like who knows who's on the BAU unit in the FBI in Washington, D.C.? Like, who would even know that other than, like, friends and family? And they have so many, like, serial killers and stuff that specifically target them. This is the sin I wrote. The quote from the show was, "You murdered all those women just because of me." And then I wrote, "Yep, and unfortunately it looks like Rothschild isn't the only one that's targeted specific members of the BAU. This show makes it seem like this team is full of rock stars, and every sicko out there knows each one of them personally and spends years trying to come up with nefarious plans to bring them down. There's an entire season-long story arc about a serial killer that sets up crime scenes like the team's greatest past hits. Are you not entertained?" And that's legit. Like, there's an entire season where they have this ongoing storyline where there's like a serial killer that is basing his kill, like he's setting up his murder scenes, like previous murder scenes that they have specifically investigated.
Yeah.
It's like the craziest shit that they're asking. That's why I said earlier, like when this show tries to do something like with continuity, it doesn't work very well. That's a big reason why. So but we ended up cutting it because it was a little long-winded and it felt like the narrator would know too much about the show.
Right.
There wasn't a way to write it to where it could be like cute about it.
Yeah.
I let it go.
Cute. Yeah, that's right. We have to run our sins through a cute filter.
Danae told me I wasn't allowed to keep it in, so I let it go.
That's right. Yep. And then I smacked you a couple times.
She did. It was weird. She wasn't even at my house. I don't even know how that worked.
She has that power. I have felt it. Danae, what about you?
I dumbly looked up the words murder porn. I was trying to think of like what the style Criminal Minds show is. You know, like
you may have found the Google search that I actually am scared of.
Well, here's the thing. Right as I typed the word N and was going for enter, it was like the Lord opened up the clouds of heaven and shone down, and I got smacked by an angel going, "Don't do that." And I stopped and I was like, "Oh my God, I almost just did like a horrible thing."
Is that how you got your smacking power? An angel gave it to you?
Yep.
Nice.
It's pretty awesome.
You were smacked by an angel.
But I also looked up something on Criminal Minds because this particular killer was talking about dissolving bodies in acid. So I also was like, dissolving bodies in acid, like how long does that, because I was trying to figure out if there was a sin there. Obviously that's my job,
right?
But the comment was, it's a tidy way to dispose of a body, and I'm like, is it though? So I was trying to figure out, is dissolving a body in acid tidy? I quickly stopped. Next
week we'll be talking about a show with another.
I was about to say that.
Acid.
I was because I watched that episode and I didn't do work on the script, but I never thought about the bathtubs.
Yeah.
But a lot of shows, that's incorrect. Like that shouldn't work.
I guess not. These are the things we now know.
Wow. Our job is awesome.
Does acid take care of the bones too? Did you find that out?
I like I said, I had to stop because I was like, maybe I just don't want to know this. And there's
I don't
a
know
lot.
That I do, but I'm just curious.
That is the classic example of if the FBI is watching our Google searches.
I know. And I did 2 back-to-back murder porn.
Right.
But although I didn't hit enter, so
doesn't matter. They can see what you're typing.
Yeah,
Justin just disappears, and we're like, that's
poor
weird.
Justin. It's like that time on Game of Thrones when I looked up how long it takes a body to bleed out.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
Mine's not going to get me in trouble with the FBI, I don't think.
Congratulations.
I learned a lot about Dickies. For one of my sins in The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, for Howard.
Yeah, and they call his mock turtleneck a dickie, and I was like, that's not a dickie. I know what a dickie is. A dickie is
you have one.
I have one. I have a whole series of dickies that I wear to events.
Oh, okay.
A dickie is.
Okay.
I have.
I don't go to events with Aaron.
I have.
Oh shit.
I was like, a dickie is where you have a false front shirt, and it just has the collar and then part of the chest area, and then you're supposed to wear like a jacket over it or whatever. It's like a false tux kind of shirt, so you don't have to buy the full tux shirt. And apparently, it is also mock turtlenecks are also called dickies, and so I was just trying to figure out how that happened. Why that was. It's also called a tuxedo front or a tux front. It was originally known as a detachable bosom.
Whoa. They make those for people like dads who want to breastfeed.
Yeah.
So wait, hold on. So I have so many questions because I've never worn a dickie. And I've never really thought about them. But so you put it on and then you button up the suit jacket?
Correct.
So does that mean you have no shirt on whatsoever?
You have an undershirt on under
okay.
it.
I mean, I guess you could go without an undershirt because the dickie's representing the shirt, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Can you wear a tie with the dickie?
Yes, you can wear a tie with the dickie. Yep. And I think that's probably where it came from, is originally it was this, and tuck shirts, as you may know, are kind of mock turtleneck looking. Like the collar that they have is a slight straight collar. There's no, I mean, there are different kinds of tuck shirts, but originally tuck shirts didn't have a collar that would fold down, and so the tie would just go around that mock turtleneck kind of idea. And so I think that's probably where it came from. But I thought, Danae, you would be glad to hear of the idea of detachable bosoms.
I mean, if I could take these things off, I'd be so happy. Yeah, I am definitely the kind of woman that if I could remove them, I would do it.
Would you put them on the next day, or would you just set them aside for special occasions?
Yeah.
Would you?
No. I think it's like one of those things where you think you're going to go back to it, and then after you haven't used it for a year, you're supposed to to donate, from your closet.
Right, yeah,
It'd be like that.
I haven't worn this detachable bosom in forever.
I should probably just give it to Goodwill. Let somebody else enjoy it.
The etymology can be attributed to Cockney rhyming slang, where a dicky dirt is a shirt. Additionally, Britain office workers were required to wear suits, but their wages made it difficult to keep a fresh supply of laundered shirts. It was common practice in the 1850s to use dickies as a way of covering dirty shirts. So, yeah, fascinating.
Makes sense.
Fascinating
I've gotten dicky dirt before. It's very painful. I don't
not
recommend
good.
it. It goes right in the urethra. It's not.
Yeah,
not comfortable.
You got to get the Willie Soap for the dicky dirt.
Yeah, don't have sex in hair on a beat.
Today is losing it.
Willie Soap. It just made me snort.
That was good. The soap part.
All right, let's move on to the comment section.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
Oh, let's talk about what you guys have on your minds. And boy, do I have 100.
We're going to talk about the comments from the week. So you've got 100?
And I mean, you know me, I'm a little bit exaggerative.
Yeah, you are. Last time you told me you had 100 and you had 1.
Yeah,
so
this time I have more than that.
All right, well, why don't you start then?
So on the Criminal Minds, Nickel Elbago says, there's an if you don't like it, unsub joke here. I just know it.
So unsub must be a Criminal Minds thing?
Yeah.
Well, it's it's used in other things too. I mean, it's used in like procedurals and like mystery novels and stuff. And apparently it irritates people.
Thing. Yeah, whoever's doing the bad thing, they call him an unsub. But they say it a lot in the show. That's probably why people don't like it. But how perfect would it have been if there was an unsub joke in our YouTube? Totally missed that one.
Funny story though, when you Google what does unsub, the first thing that pops up is mean on Criminal Minds.
Yeah. It stands for something.
There are those times, and I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that they're just two human beings working on the script, and it just doesn't occur. Like where obvious jokes just are missed, and that
unknown subject or unidentified subject of an investigation is what they refer to it as.
Unknown subject. So
I guess that's not I guess they made it up. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
I just assumed that was a term.
Me too.
But yeah, it infuriates people.
But wouldn't that would have been so funny.
I know. That's just something we have to deal with.
Yeah, I missed one.
But that's the thing. I watch these shows and I just watch the show. I don't go on fan pages and stuff like that. So I don't really ever know what people are like or dislike unless I just happen to come across something.
The ones that got away.
My other favorite one, and they were sprinkled all throughout. I talked about it a little bit, but my favorite one was from Agent J, who said, I accepted the challenge at 6/11, and I have to say that goldenrat.net definitely took a hard right turn after this show aired. And then people were just commenting about how they were feeling once they went there. Somebody said they were hoping for a redirect to our own site. Someone said, what does this have to do with Disney? More proof that Disney owns everything. Acacia said, seriously, absolutely ridiculous. I was hoping for something related to the show or that episode, but my hopes were smashed. The Illuminati is mentioned. Somebody was asking.
Of course it is.
Yeah, somebody's asking what the site was actually about. So people were like, it was Disney. So then there's more confusion about that. So it was just a lot of fun to go through and be like, I don't know, to hear how people were reacting.
Didn't it take you to the streaming service? Isn't that what it took you to?
No,
or was it just Disney?
To their website. Yeah, it's just their website. Yeah. And then the last one on that thread scared me a little bit. So this is the big juicy one. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
From Rice or Cam, he or she says, funny that you should say about the Illuminati. It's probably just a coincidence, but someone made about $1,000 worth of charges on my credit card starting 2 days ago. I had to shut it down. I didn't click on anything when I went there, but what are the odds? Oops, so sorry about that. I hope that wasn't
my gut
real.
tells me it wasn't that site. So.
Me too. At least that's what I'm telling myself since I'm the one that told him to go there.
What about you, Jonathan?
I just thought this was funny for some reason. This struck me as humorous. It was somebody, I guess I won't say their name, somebody on the Joker video, which we had, the Joker comments were actually not bad, but somebody said 2 cents should be taken off the dirty handrails and too much garbage. The movie tells the viewer that there's a garbage strike and the city is supposed to be gritty. If that bothered you, I'm sorry. I just thought that was crazy.
It is interesting to see which of the sins people are like, this sin shouldn't exist.
Yeah, us making fun of the movie itself, I could see, but God, man, the handrails and the garbage.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to stick up for the handrails.
You can't win.
No.
I'm going to go with a series from the Halsey video. And the original comment was, "Hey, in weird places, I think you've come up with a new country song." And then the comments below that are all people writing the "Hey, in weird places" song.
I loved
it's
this.
so great. I got hay in weird places where secretions run down her faces.
That's awesome.
The other one was, well, I got hay in weird places where I feel lumps in itchy creases.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
all we
you
can
to
sing,
those
Danae. That can be our duet.
That's
right.
it.
Got
That's
hay
it.
in weird places. That song. Write the whole thing and I will sing it.
There you go.
Just send that to bts at cinemasins.com. All right. Let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
It's time to chat about something else in the pop culture world that we've seen recently. And Jonathan, you're going to go first.
Ooh, Jonathan, you're first.
I'm going to talk about Star Trek. No, I'm not really going to talk about Star Trek. I started watching on Netflix. I think it dropped on Thursday. This show called The Stranger. It is based on a Harlan Coben novel. Harlan Coben is one of my favorite authors of all time. He's one of like a handful that when his new book comes out, I just basically stop whatever I'm doing and pick it up and read. He's a thriller writer, mystery thriller writer, and it's hard to put his stuff down. Like he's so good at keeping you in suspense and giving you cliffhanger after cliffhanger, and he always wraps them up in a really interesting way. And he's just one of the best mystery writers currently working. And Netflix has kind of gone all in with him. They've been producing a lot of his things or picking up a lot of his stuff that's been on other channels. But this is one that's an original to Netflix, and it's actually based on one of his books. I can't remember when the book came out. It was 4 or 5 years ago, but it's called The Stranger. I've watched the first couple of episodes, and I'm really enjoying it. And with everything else that's out right now, I just didn't want this to get lost in the mix, because I think it's worth a watch. But the basic premise is Richard Armitage, who people might know from, he played Francis Dolarhyde on Hannibal. He was also in the Hobbit movies. He played Thorin. He plays a guy named Adam Price. And this takes place, I believe, in England. And he's just at his kids' soccer practice one day and hanging out with some of the dads. And a stranger approaches him and tells him that a pregnancy that his wife had 2 years before and a miscarriage were all faked, and that he should also probably he should also probably do a DNA test on his kids that he currently has. And then he confronts his wife. This is all in the first episode. He confronts his wife, who is played by Siobhan Finneran from Downton Abbey.
Oh, yeah.
And Happy Valley. And he confronts her, and she just says, "Look, we can't talk about this right now, but we'll meet for dinner tonight, and I'll tell you everything." And then she goes missing. And that's the first episode. And then so it's a mini series. It's only going to be one season, I would assume. It's 8 episodes, I believe. I've watched the first 3. I've already read the book, so I know what happened. But
what happens? Tell me everything.
But I can tell you that it's a really good adaptation so far.
Nice.
And so it's highly recommend. And if you like that, I would also throw in, I'm kind of cheating, but these are older shows of his that are also on Netflix. There's one called The Five, and then there's one that came out a couple years ago called Safe.
Okay.
Harlan Coben's awesome.
Very nice. The Stranger. Danae, what do you got?
I decided to not watch the final season of The Good Place until the finale came.
Oh, yeah.
So that I could binge it, which is what I prefer to do. And so then yesterday during the Super Bowl, it started the previous night. On Saturday night, I started to watch it. And I stayed up until, 2:30 in the morning, which was dumb. I don't recommend it. I didn't wake up excited that I had made that decision.
Did you watch the whole season yesterday?
I watched I've watched about almost all, I'm going to say half maybe the first night and then half the next day. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
So I had a little bit of a distraction going on because my child was sick. So it was like one of those things where I have my phone set up and then I have my Bluetooth in one ear. So I was sort of only able to actively listen through part of it. But then on the finale, like when the final episode came, I was trying to pay as much attention as I could. And I definitely cried. And then my husband came in about 10 minutes after I finished crying, and he was concerned for me. He was like, "Are you okay? What happened?" And I was like, "Oh, I must look horrible." Because I get all red and splotchy when I cry. And so I'm guessing I just was really a mess. I thought I kind of tried to contain it pretty well, but apparently it was a pretty bad cry.
So did it take you long to get it back together before you guys went to the barn orgy?
Yeah, thank God. Yes, a good cry, I guess, but it definitely made me start thinking about things, which I like when a show can do on a deep level.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and still be that hilarious.
Yeah, still so many funny moments, even though they've got so many big questions in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not necessarily the meaning of life, but like purpose and how we value each other and all these different, philosophical conversations that are woven throughout, plus humor about the afterlife. And for them to have nailed it on this level where you want to go back and watch it over and over again. And it's not like a major budget show. It seems like even sometimes it's like, this is a low budget show, but I don't know. I've never really connected with Ted Danson before, but I really liked him in this role.
Yeah, I love Ted Danson. He's been on so many good shows.
Yeah, he really has.
I mean, he took over for William Peterson for the last few seasons of CSI. Well, I guess technically Lawrence Fishburne, but he came on and did the last few seasons of CSI and was really good. And then, of course,
I missed that. Yeah, I missed that completely. And what one did you mention after that? Cheers. Yeah, I never watched Cheers either. So this is probably my only time to really connect with him. And then I watched through YouTube TV. And so there are commercials, which blows, but whatever, I was multitasking. And then after the finale ended, it airs part of the an interview, like a late night interview where the whole cast is there.
Yeah, the Seth Meyers hosted. I saw that too.
It was really brief. And they talked a little bit about like the emotional end for them as actors, and they toasted each other, and it was a bit awkward a couple of times.
There was definitely some awkwardness.
Yeah, when Jason toasted Jamil, I was like, that was low.
Yeah.
That was a miss for me.
Yeah.
You're toasting that she's pretty.
Yeah.
She's also amazingly talented. So,
she hasn't
this is her first role.
Yeah, I was going to say, I looked up her IMDb. Yeah, she's great. I mean, like I said, I'm in season 2. I can't wait to finish it, though, because I've just heard about people, like, it affecting them like it did to you.
Yeah, well, I think
that excites me.
How, a lot of times shows have a specific way of wanting to put bows on things and make happiness. And that's certainly there, but it's a complex happiness that you're sort of facing more than just these characters. You're like calling into like your own life experience suddenly like in front of you as you're contemplating these philosophical conversations. And that in a comedy is brilliant. And so anyhow, if you haven't picked up The Good Place, I would definitely recommend it. I don't usually recommend like entire series, but this is fun because they had a start, they had a middle, they have an end. So you can like binge the entire thing knowing that there's a point to it. It's not just going to be one of those weird dramas where they just pull in more crap. They even play to that a little bit as the show goes on. But I would recommend it for sure.
I also have seen through the finale and loved it.
Yeah.
I've loved this show from episode 1 to episode none. This is great work all around. I found it very interesting, and I don't think this is spoilery. I found it very interesting how they talked about the afterlife, but actually kind of made it about before the after. Like by the end, you realize they're talking about our world now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a very interesting way they play in both worlds that allows them to talk about how we treat each other in this world as an understanding of what our perfect idea of the afterlife would be. But I thought it was great too. Speaking of finishing up a show that's ending and binging it during the Super Bowl, I did that as well.
What?
This time on Netflix. The last few episodes of BoJack Horseman came out recently, and I binged through those.
I recently just started watching that for the first time.
BoJack is a fascinating show.
I'm really into it. I'm really enjoying it.
I have never seen a show be this surrealist. You know, the idea of animals are also humans, like animals and humans are just part of the same world, and there's animal pun names, and the writers on this show love the same things about words that I love, which is there's a lot of alliteration, there's a lot of wordplay, there's some really fun stuff. In fact, one of the things when we will write an alliteration sin or a really good wordplay sin, lots of times in the comments you'll see like, you guys should work for BoJack Horseman, like, because they're just kind of known for that. But I really have a hard time understanding how they pulled this show off, because as crazy and as weird as it is so deep and so philosophical and so much about the real darkness of humanity, while at the same time they're making you laugh. Like there is more in this show about depression and alcoholism and mental illness and those kind of things than you would ever expect, and it treats them in such a real, like, and just kind of is okay with the pain of those things and what that looks like. And the final few episodes just take that up to 11, and it's man, is it powerful. I really enjoyed finishing out this show.
I hate that it took me this long to get to it, but I don't know, animated shows are something I'm kind of coming around on more. I didn't used to watch them that often, and I heard an interview with the creator on a podcast this past week, and just listening to him talk about it, I was like, oh, I gotta watch this show. So I'm about halfway through the first season, which they're like 30-minute episodes or whatever. So
and like Danae was talking about with The Good Place, like, you know, there's a beginning and an end now.
Yeah.
And it's like there's you know the investment you have.
I don't know that I've gotten there yet, but I remember the interesting thing to me was that he was talking about how it was really hard for them initially because they needed to start it in a certain place, but they knew that it was going to become something different, but it was hard to like tell people like, no, you got to keep watching.
Yeah, because for me,
I don't know what that means yet, but I just thought that was so fascinating.
I don't know what it means, but I know it's important.
Yeah. There are 6 seasons, and there are 69 episodes.
Mm-hmm. That's fitting.
In case
I'm
you
just
want
kidding.
to know.
Oh my, that's so sexual.
So anyways, high recommend, especially if you like stuff that'll make you laugh and think at the same time.
That's
which
what
is
I
kind
love.
of the Good Place is kind of the same thing, right? So yeah, we're like in conjunction with our recommendations.
We didn't even plan it. We're
amazing.
We're accidentally awesome. Oh man, that reminds me of a shirt that I used to have, and I really am bummed that I don't have it anymore. But it was just this plain green shirt, and it had this sort of like really simple icon of a wave on it, and it just said, "I am an ocean of awesome."
And now you're bummed.
Yeah, I mean, I lost it probably, 8 years ago. I'm still sad.
You are an ocean of awesome. Don't let Aaron tell you differently.
Thank you.
You're welcome. He's not right about you.
That's going to wrap it up for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. You can,
do that.
You can hang out with us on Twitter at CinemaSins BTS is the main Twitter. Our personal Twitters are at Aaron Dicer, at Danae Says,
DENEESAYS,
and at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to behindthesinspod@gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe or message us at Twitter, and be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Look at these foods, they're so good, You know, it's weird though, because they do start to taste a little bit like plastic, because I took a bite of the sandwich, and then just the way that the eggs like hit my tongue, it felt more like plastic. So
You're talking about fast food feeling processed.
Mm-hmm. But that's just a lie. It's super delicious. Like, it's so healthy.
No, it's not. And one of the things One of the things I always realize when I go back on a more natural food diet is like that I go through withdrawal. Every time I withdraw from the sugar, I withdraw from whatever the chemicals are, the processing, and I have a headache for like a day.
Oh, speaking of chemicals.
And then I feel so much better. And then the first time I go back to eating it, because it is delicious. You're not wrong. I will you'll never hear me say it's not delicious.
It's nutritious too.
It's not that. But the first time I go back to eating it, I can taste all the falseness to it.
It's not false, but
it still tastes good. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, I'm just like, no, this is how it should be. And then I go through withdrawal again. So there you go. There's my dieting cycle.
It's a cycle of dieting. Ooh.
The circle of strife.
Makes you poo. Ooh.
All right. Should we call Jonathan?
Mm-hmm. But, while you do that, I'm going to eat this tater tot because, it's so healthy.
Nom, nom.
You know a tater tot's good if you can hear it crunch. Let's listen.
You got so pleased with your little audio experiment halfway through and you couldn't control your excitement.
I know.
It sounds so cool.
Are you just not calling Jonathan because you want to sing or?
Shut up. I want to sing.
Oh, no. Me and my best friend Lillian and our blue tick hound dog Gideon sitting on the front porch cool in the shade singing every song that the radio played. Call Jonathan.
Not while you're doing beautiful music.
That's not beautiful music. That's me being goofy. Call Jonathan.
Hey.
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 Oh, you guys are sounding better now.
Well, thank you.
Hey, thanks.
Well, no, it was weird. It was like when it started, you sounded really staticky.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, you too. I think it's a Skype thing.
Yeah, it's like they have to. It's like when you poop in the first little bit. It's like a. There's nothing really there.
You have way too many poop metaphors. It creates way too many weird visuals.
Danae's go-to analogy is always defecation.
Oh my gosh.
That one's not even accurate. That one's not even accurate, Danae.
Sure it is. When you
your poop just doesn't come out.
Stop.
I think we just learned something about your poop.
No, sometimes
my poop comes out. Like that's not an issue.
Yeah. I don't have a little bit. I don't have any poop static at the beginning.
You don't have a runway issue?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, there's no at the beginning. Some sort of helicopter sounding poop.
Oh, fuck. This is going to be such a great show. Oh, God.
I feel like I was kind of culturally required to watch the game last night because we're so in the heart of, by the way.
But the Chiefs
Missouri.
are from Kansas.
Yeah, right. According to the president.
The Chiefs are from the great state of Kansas.
Chiefs belong to the great state of Kansas.
Yeah, they play in Missouri, right? They're like the Royals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's Kansas
I mean,
City,
it's right
Missouri.
it's kind of like right on the border, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, of course. And
it's the same city.
Yeah, there are parts of Kansas City that are in Kansas. There is definitely a Kansas City, Kansas. But yeah, it's kind of funny.
That is funny.
Just to completely slight the entire state of Missouri was kind of a funny thing. I was going to ask you, Danae.
Yeah.
Did you have celebrations going on around you last night? Because
not like you did.
Oh my goodness, it was just like nonstop fireworks here.
Yeah, we didn't have any fireworks. I didn't hear anyone screaming.
It was, and again, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that for whatever reason, it's in the 70s here right now. So yeah, and it's going to be even higher today. I think it's supposed to hit like 75 today.
That's awesome.
So everybody has their windows open, kind of airing stuff out.
Cooling down tomorrow. It's going to be in like
it's
40s.
Supposed to snow tomorrow. Yes, it's supposed to snow tomorrow. Of course,
that's funny.
That's Springfield though. That's the Ozarks.
Yeah, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute.
But I'm a Raiders fan, so I don't like Kansas City. I don't really like the 49ers either because that's it used to be Bay Area competition. Now that they're in Las Vegas, it's not anymore. But it ended up being a really good game.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes is... I hate that he's going to be in our division for the next 10 years. But
everybody loves him. He's
so good.
24-year-old miracle quarterback guy.
Oh, he's so good. And Andy Reid, did you see that tweet from? It was Darren Stevens. Is that his name, Danae?
Yep.
He was a former football player. He played for. He actually played for Arena League football, but he apparently tried out for the Eagles when Andy Reid was a coach there, and it didn't. He said he didn't make the team or anything, but he then played for, I believe he said, the Philadelphia Soul in the Arena League, and Andy Reid was at a game, made it a point to come into the locker room and let him know that he made a really good play.
Oh, nice. I've heard a lot of
Yeah, and I mean,
good
that's
things.
that's just not something I think a lot of coaches would do.
I'm generally not a football fan. A lot of that probably has to do with the fact that the football team I would root for has never even been to a Super Bowl. We won a playoff game once, but that's about it.
You've never even, I think, is that true that you've never been, or you've been to one championship?
We have a championship, but it was before the Super Bowl. It was like in the 40s
sorry.
or 50s.
Like since the Super Bowl era, I was reading last night about who hadn't made it. I think Detroit's only been to one NFC championship game. I think
we may have been to an NFC championship game. I know we've won at least.
I can't remember.
I know we've won at least one playoff game when Barry Sanders was around.
Cool. Yeah, are we done with football talk now?
No. One more thing.
Okay.
One more thing. But Patrick Mahomes was drafted by the Detroit Tigers, so I'm just counting this as a Detroit Super Bowl victory. So.
Yeah, because of course he's really good at baseball too.
Of course he is. Did you have to watch any of it because Justin was watching it?
I did watch some of it, yes. But at the same time, I was finishing my binge of The Good Place final season.
Ooh. Now, are we talking about
I
that
don't
on the
want
show?
to. No, I'm still only in season 2.
Okay, well, we'll hold off on that conversation then since you're bringing it up on the show.
Yep. I really enjoyed the halftime show.
Let's talk about that.
So when J-Lo came out, she had like this leather thong thing going on.
With a little bit of silver.
I saw the silver strips and I was like, did she duct tape her butt shut?
That's what I wondered too. I had the same thought. I was looking in the same general area you and the rest of America were.
It was the center of the camera.
It was the whole point of the halftime show.
It was just an outfit, right? That she had on under that outfit.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
But just the geometrical shape, it just reminded you of a patched. Yeah. So then I asked my husband, I was like, did she duct tape her butt shut? And he goes, I don't know. I'll have to pay closer attention. So then the whole rest of her performance of that first part when she was wearing the leather outfit, all we were doing was trying to, pay attention to that.
I feel like they could have renamed the halftime show Super Bowl Pepsi halftime show a tribute to the female butt. That was the whole, like her and Shakira both, man.
Heck yeah.
I will tell you though, man, Shakira, I hadn't seen her in a while. I mean, I guess she's been on The Voice, but like I just haven't seen her perform in a while. And that girl, she just seems to have like a blast.
Oh yeah, she's an incredible performer.
J-Lo was great.
Yeah.
Shakira won. Like if you have to do the competition thing,
okay.
Like Shakira, I was surprised.
Shakira is like an incredible performer.
She's great.
She's incredible.
Yeah, well, J-Lo is really good, but like it seems very, and I'm sure Shakira is choreographed, obviously, but like J-Lo seems very choreographed. Like she's doing what, but Shakira just seems to kind of be like, there's like choreography there, but then I think she ad-libs because she's just feeling the moment.
I love that we have a new meme from her now.
Which is?
When she leaned over to the camera and was like, which apparently is part of her heritage. It's called I'm going to mispronounce this word, but it's
Grace.
trending on Twitter.
Grace. Total Grace.
So please forgive me, but it's a Zagrauda.
Okay.
Zagrauda.
Okay.
I don't know. It's Zagrouta. It is obviously being memed. My favorite meme was of her leaning into the camera doing this motion and someone saying me trying to get the final bits of my fruit cup. Her performance was very cultural.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of excited representation happening. I mean, she hasn't stopped performing from what I understand. She's just been performing for...
Like today. She's still at the halftime show right now.
Right now.
She has not stopped performing.
Nope. But it was so cool to see these two women, 40 and 50 years old, just out there killing it.
Yeah, 43 and 50, I think. Yeah, no, I was definitely impressed. It was very sensual.
Come on. The pole dancing, that was so lame. I'm kidding. I'm joking, guys.
No, but I think there's a conversation to be had because my wife and I had a really good conversation about this because she looked at me and she said, why can't it just be about the singing and dancing? Like, why does it have to be so sexual? And I said, well, there's a really interesting dynamic between that. By the way, this debate has gone on for years. Mm-hmm. The idea that culture forces women to be like this to get attention, to use their sexuality, sensuality, and body to get attention can be seen as sexist, right? But there's also this competing side of it, which is women should be allowed and able to use their bodies however they want to use their bodies, right? So there's this kind of I think the answer I come to at least is you can't know because you can't know someone's motives, right? And so as an outsider looking in, you kind of have to just step back, especially as a dude, just kind of have to step back and, be as non-judgmental as you can. And at the same time, not see it as permission to objectify somebody, right? Like both of those things have to go on within, at least I feel like within my male brain, right? At the same time, I'm saying, I'm not judging you for making this choice, showing your body this way, using your sexuality to make money, those kind of things. But at the same time, I'm not using that as permission to objectify you as an object instead of a person. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
My gut tells me that J-Lo and Shakira are doing what they want to do and not what they have to do.
Sure. And I think they would probably say that as well, but it's within a system that encourages it, right? Like it's within a culture in an entertainment system.
No, for sure. It's a tough nut to crack.
Guys can certainly use their sensuality to sell themselves. Certainly.
It's never worked for me, but yes, I guess you could.
But we live in a system where they don't have to. And I think the argument a lot of times is that women sometimes feel like they have to in order to get ahead.
There's a Paige from WWE. She's an incredible performer. And she has
Paige?
Yeah, she has a great tweeter. She tweeted recently this picture of this, like, I don't know, middle-aged dude with a nice tummy and this tiny little dog and like maybe like a soda in his hand. Mm-hmm. And it's like captioned like, her nose is too big. He's watching TV. Uh-huh. And I just think that's funny because it's like there's always any female form, whether it's completely covered in a 3-piece suit on a news channel or a bathing suit or and it could be anything. There's always someone that's got to comment on it
and objectify it,
and that does not happen for dudes like it does. I mean, it does happen, but not at the same level.
No. Culturally, I think it's very fair to say that females deal with
what
that.
Was the Aquaman, his commercial that he had during the Super Bowl, where he kind of like pulled off his muscles and was just the super skinny dude, and pulled off his hair, and that's the same kind of idea, which is stop objectifying me. I'm a person.
Right.
Taylor Swift talks about it in her documentary. Like, I have to stop looking at pictures of myself because if part of me has changed, then I'm not meeting an expectation, and so therefore I stop eating. So she's being honest about stuff. I have the same thing happen. Like, we all have this stuff where we have these ideas. I think that it's hard to find dance moves where you're not gyrating your body in a sexual way. And if the Super Bowl or any major platform doesn't want to have any sexual movements at all, then it's going to be real boring. It's just going to be people kind of doing like even a square dance, because square dance has hip movements. So if anything can be considered sexual, then it shouldn't be there. And it's like, I know it's not just movements, it's clothing too. But what about cheerleaders? Like, there's all kinds of different things. I didn't realize it was such a big deal until I think it was like Lecrae or somebody tweeted, what'd you guys think of the halftime show? And I started reading them. I thought this was going to be family friendly and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, okay. I guess I can understand that maybe you should be concerned that your children are going to immediately start humping each other after. I don't know. That's a joke. That's a joke. That was a joke.
No, I know it was. But there is, I think the concern is that what young women, and we've talked about this, the idea of a young woman growing up thinking, okay, this is how I be famous. This is how I'm going to get something, is to use my sensuality.
I'm just saying social media is far scarier than watching fucking J-Lo and Shakira dancing.
That is a very good point.
And honestly, seeing J-Lo specifically, a 50-year-old woman, like looking slamming her body, like she doesn't have big old tatas. She's got like normal like boobs, and like it's just, that was awesome. That's body positivity for me. That's not like, ooh, look at that sexy woman. It's like, man, represent. Look at that. That's a beautiful woman right there. So I don't know. I think it's just perspective. And I think people are really freaked out about sex and everything's over-sexualized. And I don't know. I just have a different opinion about it. I'd far rather see Iris, watch a person that can perform and dance and sing and represent the Latin community and what a successful career looks like all these years later. I'd rather her do that than get caught up in some beauty community on Instagram that all thinks they got to do XYZ or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just...
And the Latin community is the other thing that's interesting, because, and I tweeted this out last night, and a bunch of people were saying this, but like, just think about all the little girls in the Latin community. Just think about how much that must have excited them and brought smiles to their faces.
Like, just there's representation happening on a major platform. And I don't know, if somebody in their house, like, doesn't want their children to dress a certain way, that's not like, the kids aren't going to wake up tomorrow, maybe they will, I don't know, and be like, I want to go to school wearing nothing but sparkles on my tits. Like, That could potentially happen, sure, but that's a conversation that the parent gets to have with the kid. I think it's pretty obvious that there's like performances. Oh no, Masked Singer, my child's going to grow up to be a furry. Like, we could just freak out about all kinds of things. Just calm down. It's just a body. It's just a body.
I want to say this because I feel like you were pushing back against something you think I said.
What? I wasn't listening when you were talking about
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
6%.
You were just kind of waiting.
6%.
That's right. I get 6%.
That's right.
But I want to be clear that my opinion is, first of all, that I don't have much of a say in it because, number one, I'm not a woman and I don't know that pressure. But that I do think, as with most things, there is a balance between these ideas that we need to continue to wrestle with. We need to continue to wrestle with the difference between body positivity and body image problems.
Listen,
right?
we're going to talk about this so fucking much when we get to the music video sense.
Oh, you know what? You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Let's put a pop, a tap, a doop a dap on this, and then we'll just insert the boop bop, a liggity doo bop. And also that Super Bowl ad from Google that had everybody crying. I totally missed it because I was eating a brat at the time.
Google makes great ads.
And Justin turns around and he was like, got tears in his eyes. I was like, what's wrong? And he's like, that was a really meaningful commercial.
Which one was it? The Google ad?
Yeah.
I might have missed this.
It was an older man using Google Assistant to remember his wife, and was asking it to show him pictures of her, and then he kept saying things like, "Remember how she, didn't like when I had my mustache," or "Remember how when," and so Google would always say, "Okay, I'll remember that," and then at the end it was like, "Here's all the things I remember about your wife." Just started, listing. Anyways, it was really powerful. It was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little verklempt.
You were?
I was.
Yeah, I was. I had a brat in my mouth.
I like the Park commercial, the Boston,
That was my favorite. As far as humor goes, that was my favorite. I could just watch celebrities do the Boston accent all day.
That was fun.
I assume they're all from Boston, right? They have to be.
I'm pretty sure
I didn't know that about Chris Evans.
I didn't either.
I knew Rachel Dratch because she did that character on SNL.
Did Walmart have to pay for the rights to play all that movie stuff?
I don't know. That was a good one too, though. I loved all
that. Was so much movie content.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap! How much
I guess I didn't see the Walmart
did they have to pay to do that? It was like every major movie they just
was picking up groceries at Walmart.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. But you know
Walmart
what?
Can afford it.
They can. Hey, Jonathan, did you see that I'm wearing a Behind the Sins shirt today?
I can't see you.
Oh. Also, today on my drive in, I had a straw. I had my window down because it was so nice, and I had my straw in my mouth, and I could feel the wind kind of like coming through the straw into my mouth. And so I leaned my head out of the window with the straw in my mouth so that I could fill up my cheeks through the straw.
Here we go. Sing it again, girl.
All right, Salt and Pepper.
That's my hair.
Boobies. What?